Hey player, what's up? So today we're taking a look at the top 10 Reanimator cards in the new Magic set, The Lost Caverns of Ixalan. And if you want to own any of these cards, click the first link in my description to get them. And let's get started. So we start with a few honorable mention. First of them is Queensbay Paladin. It's a 5 mana black vampire knight, and when it ETPs you return one vampire card from your grave to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, and you lose life equal to its mana cost. So it's not only ETP, it's also with attack, and there's a big downside. You lose a bunch of life if you want to reanimate something big. First thing that comes into mind is Olivia. Because Olivia can also bring back creatures, and a creature like Kalta, for example, that has an awesome upside to it. So there's a big risk with this card, but I think there might be a vampire reanimator in the works, so look out for this card. The second honorable mention is Spring-Loaded Sawblades. It's not really a reanimator, but you can use it in it. It's an artifact with flash for 2 mana, and it deals 5 damage to tapped creature an opponent controls. So you can get it back with reanimator spells, for example, or you can also blink it with Wanderer or Nahiri's Resolve. So there's tons of use for it. Also you can craft, and if you craft it turns into a 5/5 vehicle with crew 1, or you can tap 2 artifacts and it becomes like a creature. So in the late game it's just another body on the field, so definitely a decent one. And now to the top 10. At 10 we have Squirming Emergence, which is a 3 mana Golgari color sorcery with Fathomless Descent, and you can return to the battlefield target non-land permanent in your graveyard with mana value less or equal to the number of permanents in your grave. So you need a bunch of permanents in your grave to get something good out of it, but it targets a permanent, so it's not only a creature. You can get planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts. Portal comes to mind, but you need to work really hard in your graveyard for it. But for 3 mana, I think that's decent, and you just need to find a way to mill your library really fast and get something good back with it, so definitely a decent one. At 9 we have Confounding Riddle. It's a 3 mana blue instant spell, and it has 2 options. You either look at the top 4 cards, and put one into your hand and the rest to the graveyard. That's exactly what the reanimation needs. You need that reanimation spell in your hand and big drops in the graveyard, so fits perfectly, because we don't really need to draw them, we just need them in the graveyard and one in the hand, so that's great. And you can also counter with it pretty effectively, because it has to pay, your opponent has to pay 4 for it. So imagine all your opponent's big farewells or sweepers, you can just counter it. So that's pretty neat, definitely adding this to my Azorius and Esper colors. At number 8 we have Abuela's Awakening, which is a 4 mana white sorcery, and you can return target artifact or non-aura enchantment from your grave to the battlefield, and you can also put +1/+1 counters on it if you want to pay extra for it. But the downside is that it's a 1/1 spirit creature with flying. So I think what you should target with it are these like breach spells from your graveyard, for example one with the multiverse or the world spell, that work as a breach to your final target. I'm thinking like Atraxa, Etali, Portal to Phyrexia, but it's a spirit, so you can play it in a Selesnya Enchantments for example, and you can maybe make copies of it with Calyx or Yenna. So there's a strat in it, but yeah, the cool thing is that it's only 4 mana, so a turn early. At number 7 we have Get Lost, which is a 2 mana instant in white colors, and it destroys target creature, enchantment or planeswalker, and its controller gets 2 map tokens. Usually it's your opponent who gets these map tokens. The good thing is that it targets enchantments, which are really annoying in the current standard. I'm thinking Leyline Binding, Ossification, all of the enchantment decks. Do I think the map tokens will be a big threat? Maybe too soon to say, but I think if you remove his creatures, he can't use them because of the effects of these map tokens, so definitely gonna add this one. At number 6 we have Akal Bakal, First Among Equals. It's a 3-mana blue legendary human advisor, and at the beginning of each player's end step, if a artifact entered the battlefield under your control, you can look at the top 2 cards of your library, and one goes to the hand and one goes to the graveyard. Also great body with 1/5, so you can block against these mono-red aggressive decks in the early game. And you kind of need to play artifacts, but your opponent might give you some map tokens, and you also have usually Collector's Vault that generates these treasure tokens, which are artifacts. Also you play most likely Portal, so the artifacts, you got them, and getting the ability to pretty much loot and draw a free card every turn, even on your opponent's turn actually, is a really good card overall, so look out for that. Number 5, it's Matsalantli, the Great Door. It's a 3-mana legendary artifact, and it lets you tap and loot, draw a card, then discard a card, which we need to do a bunch of times. And you can also transform it for 4 mana and a tap, and you need to have 4 or more permanent types among cards in your graveyard. So we are filling our graveyard, so that should be pretty much easy, and it turns into the core, which is a legendary land, and if you tap it, it adds X mana of any color, where X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. So it's at least 4, so hard casting your big drops is very much easier now. And you can also fix the mana colors that you need. For example, Atraxa needs green that I usually don't play, so you can just add 5 green mana and you're good to go. So, great card. At number 4 we have Bitter Triumph, which is a 2-mana black instant. And as an additional cost to cast this spell, discard the card or pay 3 life and destroy target creature or planeswalker. Exactly what we need in the early game. We need to discard cards and we need to keep our opponent's threats under control. So it's pretty much 2 for 1 for us, and paying 3 life is not that bad either, especially when these creatures deal like 7 damage per turn. So definitely addition to any black Reanimator deck. Alright, let's get to the podium. At number 3 we have Khalta Stampede Tyrant, which is a 8-mana green legendary elder dinosaur, which has trample, and when it DTPs you put any number of creature cards from your hand into the battlefield. So we definitely want to reanimate this first from your graveyard, and then play cards from your hand such as Thalia, Atraxa, and even Immodane's Recruiter, which is a card that gives everybody haste. And imagine getting this down on turn 4-5 and just hitting your opponent with a 12/12 trampler, and everybody has haste, and you might have another big creature at hand. So definitely a 1-hit combo with this one that I'm really excited to try out. And at number 2 we have Brass's Tunnel Grinder, which is a 3-mana red legendary artifact, and when it DTPs you can discover any number of cards, then draw that many +1, and at the end, if you descended, which means a permanent went to the graveyard from anywhere, you put a counter on it, and if there's 3, this thing turns into the Tekutlan, the Searing Rift, which is a legendary land, also a cave, that produces red mana, and if you cast a permanent spell using mana from Tekutlan, you can discover equal to the mana value of the spell. So discover is a new mechanic that lets you exile cards from top of your library, non-land cards that is, and you can cast with its mana value or less, and you can cast it for free, or you can put it to your hand. So bunch of value added with this land pretty much every turn, and definitely an addition to every red Reanimator deck that I have. And at number 1 we have Trumpeting Carnosaur, which is a 6-mana red dinosaurs, not even legendary, and also has trample, and when it DTPs you discover 5. We already discussed about discover, and also it has an ability to discard for 3 mana and red, and it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. So in the early game, if the mono red is attacking you, you can just discard it for 3 mana and get rid of his threats. And also that means that it's in the graveyard, so at turn 4, maybe 5, you can reanimate it, and then you get discover 5 again, which usually might be another reanimation spell. So definitely a good value with this card, and it's also non-legendary, so you can make copies of it if you really want to, and have a bunch of these going on your battlefield. Also trample 7/6, decent, I mean really good stats in it as well, so definitely a target for reanimation. So this was the list of top 10 reanimation cards in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. What did I miss? What did I hit correctly? What would you add? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments, guys, and don't forget that if you want to get any of these cards, check out the first link in the description. And yeah, I'll be making a bunch of reanimator decks using these cards and bunch of other combos that now are possible in the new set. So if you want to see some fun cards, non-meta, just having fun with the new cards, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like, and thank you very much for watching, guys.